Week 7's main slate is in the books, and we have 9 players that are skyrocketing up our rest of season rankings. And the first one is going to taste pretty sweet for one Danny Ladd 21 here. Let's talk about Travis Hunter in his breakout game, 24.1 fantasy points, finally getting the usage, finally getting the targets, finally finding the end zone as well. The floor is yours to take the stage here.
Yeah, and after last week, I was cautiously optimistic. I'm like, Corey, am I coping? He just ran 86% of the routes for this team, but it wasn't showing in the box score. Is something going to change? We have the quote midweek from Liam Cohn saying they want to make an emphasis moving forward on more first read targets for Travis Hunter. And then he goes out there and commands 14 targets, has that big touchdown, puts up 24.1 PPR points as the wide receiver 8 in fantasy this weekend. He went from wide receiver 37 to, guys, brace yourselves, wide receiver 23 in the last rest of the season rankings. And part of it is the Jaguars are on bye. They're going to look at this game film. They just lost, 35-7 to the LA Rams? Corey, what was the one thing that was working for them all game?
Number 12, playing a lot of offense.
And on top of that, his defensive snaps basically cut to none.
Yeah, he didn't play very much on defense. And when he did play, he had like a really nice pass breakup on Devonta Adams. I think situationally, that's probably how they're going to use him going forward. But we don't really know. The thing I realized last week, because I actually, for the first time all season, in my home league, had people messaging me about Travis Hunter. Never all season has anybody been interested in Travis Hunter. 3 people in my home league messaged me, hey, are you interested in selling Travis Hunter? So that's why I was like, here it comes. It's coming this week. And boy, did we get it, man. 28% of the targets, 24.1 PPR points, top 8 receiver finish on the week. And like you said, 89% of the routes as well. So that feels great. Yeah, this is finally what we were hoping for. And Danny's best ball teams went from 11th to 9th.
No, in all seriousness, though, I looked at my advance rate and I noticed I went from, a couple of weeks ago, I was a little bit down. I was about 12 to 13%. Now I'm at about 18%. So just off of a couple of things going right, Rashee Rice obviously coming off suspension. I had a ton of them that helped as well. But Travis Hunter, man, I cannot say enough good words. We also get bdge potentially going down in that game. He has been dealing with, I believe, a shoulder injury since college. He took a slight little press to the shoulder and instantly grabbed at it. So that's not a good look. Hopefully for bdj's sake, he's okay. But I honestly think the question that we got to have, maybe not now, but maybe by week 9 when both these guys are back on the field potentially, Travis Hunter or bdj rest of the season. I think the easy answer would be bdj right now. But if Hunter goes out there in week 9 and outproduces him yet again, why can't we rank him higher?
Yeah, no, it's got to at least be within the same tier, I would say. Like if bdj, like for me, I don't have Hunter at wide receiver 23. He's currently my wide receiver 29, but I do only have him 4 spots behind Brian Thomas Jr. And I do think if we hear some negative words about his injury and that kind of thing, you could even make the argument to flip them or put them back to back or something like that. So yeah, Travis Hunter has to be on the rise right now because not only did we see the breakout game, but the projection going forward is more rosy, like you said, because if bdj is hurt, if Lawrence and him continue to develop a connection, it sounds like most of the Jaguars brass actually meant it when they said we need to get 12 the ball more. We need to let him run more downfield routes. It was, in my opinion, based on like watching the game and stuff, the perfect combination this week of design touches and real wide receiver routes. It wasn't just let's feed him 12 targets that are at the line of scrimmage, bubble screens, and all this kind of stuff. He had, 4 or 5 catches downfield and a couple of early design touches, which is exactly how you want to use this player.
Yeah, and looking at the schedule moving forward, obviously week 8, I mentioned we have the bye. Week 9, we got the Las Vegas Raiders. We just saw what the Chiefs passing offense was able to do to them. And people might be saying, well, that's the Chiefs offense. Every single offense has been doing that to the Raiders secondary. The Raiders secondary is flat out shit. Houston, again, Derek Stingley probably going to spend a lot of time on bdj as more of an outside corner, bdj more of an outside wide receiver. LA Chargers, we saw them see big plays against the Colts this week. Arizona, Tennessee, Indianapolis, New York Jets. The one tough matchup in there, too, in the fantasy playoffs is Denver, but as we know, Pat Surtain probably going to spend some more time on Brian Thomas Jr. And then you have in week 17, divisional matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, probably going to have about a 48.5 over-under.
Yeah, lots of great positive signals for Travis Hunter. Also, you want to hear something absurd? I'm advancing 50 out of 150 best ball teams right now.
That's disgusting.
1/3 advance rate. Yeah. I mean, there's still 2 games left in the week, so it's possible. But I have a lot of Buccaneers, so I can't imagine that would really impact it too negatively.
I want to say I was out 27 out of 150. Well, I mean, I did the percentage. Let me take a look. So 27 times 25. Yeah, around that.
Yeah, no, I mean, part of it is Devonta Smith also had a massive game, who's my highest drafted player singly in any, tournament whatsoever. Jake Ferguson and Tyler Warren are my highest drafted tight ends. Judkins, my highest drafted running back. Like, there's a lot of good hits in there. Obviously, some big misses. Malik Neighbors, I had a high percentage of and whatnot. But overall, very good best ball stuff so far.
I had a couple Warren Bowers combos that I'm kind of optimistic about, because if I could sneak in Brock Bowers into the fantasy football playoffs for best ball, I mean, what's his ownership percentage going to be?
Brock Bowers? Yeah, it'd be pretty low, I would imagine.
If I snuck him in, because I had Warren paired with him.
Yeah, I have a great game with Warren and Jake Ferguson on it.
Yeah, that's absolute gas. I actually mentioned this guy's name because he is a big part of my best ball portfolio moving forward. Rashee Rice. Corey, you're finally coming to grips with the fact that this guy is a stud.
Yeah, I got fantasy receipted this weekend, and I deserve it. I said in the tweet, I will eat a big bowl of fantasy receipts if Rashee Rice is anything other than the next Chase Claypool, basically. And it's not because I don't think Rashee Rice is not talented. I thought Chase Claypool was talented. I didn't think Rashee Rice was a hard worker. He's kind of a knucklehead. I thought we were going to look back on rookie year and second year, first 3 games, Rashee Rice as the Vince McMahon meme. He was different back then, and he was never going to recapture that form. Notoriously, I've had some trepidation about this player, the role, the target share, the injury, everything. But in his first game, despite being eased back in routes, only 47 or 48% of the routes, he commanded a target on 47% of those routes and had a 27% target share overall on the game, scored 2 touchdowns. And most importantly, they schemed him those looks. He was very clearly a focal point of their play calling strategy. The Chiefs have been saying this all offseason, and they thought he could take a huge leap. We may still get a few more of these ramp up games in terms of his usage, because like I said, he only ran 48% of the routes. But kudos to you guys if you've been stashing him. If you drafted this guy, threw him on your IR, if you could put him there, or just left him on your bench, you can take your victory lap now. There's a big pot of humble pie in front of me. I will eat it. I will gladly scarf it down. It has been one game, but I will gladly scarf it down in the short term here.
I love how it has been one game.
I mean, it has only been one game, and the injury was something I was legit concerned about too, and it's possible that could flare up. But for the most part, I was wrong. I will admit fully that I was wrong through one game.
I will say it has been 12 games, but I'm joking with you. I do have to say, though, guys, take it easy on Corey. Don't give him too much hell for this. I mean, at the end of the day, he already got too much of it when I faced him in the listener league this week. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I got the schmang from Danny in the listener league this week, which was not fun, considering I also traded you Rashee Rice in the league. And I started Caleb Williams over Bo Nix, who dropped 40 points. So not ideal. But bright side is I did have Rashee Rice ranked wide receiver 12 before this. So it's not like I was full fading the guy. I wasn't oh, he's such a bum, I have him wide receiver 26 or something. Wide receiver 8 now, though. He's right in that territory with the Drake Londons, the Nico Collins, the Justin Jeffersons, the way that the offense is operating there. You can definitely argue. If you told me you'd take Rashee Rice over those guys, I wouldn't really blame you. I think he's at the end of that tier for me because, like I said, I'm going to bake in a little bit of trepidation still. But for the most part, one more, dude, wide receiver 8. You can't even laugh at that. Wide receiver 8 rest of season.
It was just funny the way you said it. You're I got to build in a little bit more. I know
compare him to London and Justin Jefferson.
No, I know what you mean. I'm joking with you as well. He's the top of that tier for me. But again, it is that tier. Rashee Rice, Drake London, Justin Jefferson. The top 5 I currently have in order: number 1, Puka Nacua; number 2, CeeDee Lamb. And we may as well move on to this next guy, because number 3 now for me is Ja'Marr Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. I did rise him. He was my wide receiver 7 going into the week. I still said, hey, it's still Joe Flacco. We still have to pause our expectations a little bit. We don't really know what this Cincinnati offense is going to look like. What we do know is Joe Flacco, when he's on the field, is going to sling the football. He's not going to scramble, and we're going to see 40 to 45 pass attempts. On top of that, we saw 23 targets from Ja'Marr Chase. I am lying to you guys if I say that he can't be a top 3 wide receiver rest of the season if this type of volume is available to him. Joe Flacco quietly been looking like this. I was actually looking at Joe Flacco's history, and he's kind of been this steady Eddie. He could step in, he can give you these type of games realistically for the last 6 years. So even going back to like 2020, 2019 for the Jets when he was a backup, you're looking at Joe Flacco being a solid quarterback. So we get him in. Obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals, they trade for him last 2 weeks. He starts against the Packers, and they end up winning on Thursday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Actually ruins my survivor pick. I picked the Steelers. I'm like, surely there's no way Cincinnati in this matchup is able to beat the 5-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. And
what did I tell you on Thursday night, Danny?
It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap. And
exactly. It was a trap game, dude. You never pick survivor picks on Thursday Night Football ever, especially divisional games. And I think the Bengals were at home in that game too.
Yeah. I sipped the Kool-Aid. I'm like, you know what? The Steelers defense has a much better chance of stopping the Bengals offense than vice versa. But sure enough, no defenses are getting stops anyways. And we do see, a top 3, top 4 shootout game of the week? Like, who would have thought Cincy versus Pittsburgh would have ended up with a 33-31 line?
The unction, man. It was a movie. I have T. Higgins as a riser as well, so we can kind of just dovetail right into him because T. Higgins, and I actually did not move Jamar Chase one lick. He was wide receiver 3 for me the whole time. So I feel good that the market caught up to it. I moved him up to 3 after Flacco's first game in Green Bay. So that feels good that I was like, okay, this looks like this is going to be sustainable offense. And then Pittsburgh obviously was a good matchup. Part of it was that the Bengals have the 3rd easiest schedule for the wide receiver position the rest of the season. The 2 toughest matchups they do have are the Jets this week, shadow coverage, Jamar Chase, Sauce Gardner. So that's good for T. Higgins. Bills in week 14, they've been playing Benford in shadow coverage as well. He'll probably be on Jamar Chase as well. So all good news all around for T. Higgins. 45 and 47 pass attempts with Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback, at least 215 passing yards, 2+ passing touchdowns in both games. T. Higgins is not, going to get 30+% of the targets. He's more of a 20 to 25% target share guy on any given week. But, he was a slide away from having a 30-point game himself. So, this is a dude that you can really count on for kind of the Devonta Smith territory where you're thinking, okay, yeah, he's going to have some down games here and there, but he's going to have a high weekly ceiling. Because when T. Higgins gets in the zone, he starts producing like nobody's business. So I think you can value this guy again as like a back-end wide receiver 2 rest of the season.
Yeah, he's also my wide receiver 25 rest of the season, so I agree with you on that for the most part. And actually, now that I'm looking at it with no Jaden Daniels, with Debo banged up, I'm actually going to move Debo down below him. So I have T. Higgins at wide receiver 24. I agree with you on that. Sorry, I was smiling because I just thought of this. What were we saying coming into the offseason? That George Pickens would be a poor man's T. Higgins, and now it's almost just flipped where T. Higgins can now be a poor man's George Pickens.
How did you make that about the Cowboys?
No. I'm just saying because CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, they're both going to be your 30% guys. I'm just saying T. Higgins was George Pickens before George Pickens. Sure. It just doesn't feel like that because of how Pickens has been now.
Sure. I don't know. You made that about the Cowboys somehow. I don't know how you fucking gymnastics your way into that. But yeah, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase have to be risers, pretty straightforward. Let's stay in the same game because your other riser is also on the other side of the ball there. And I moved him. You have him running back 16 rest of the season. He is running back 19 for me, but I did have him running back 28 before the week. So I moved Jaylen Warren up a sizable amount, and he had a monster game in a good matchup. I guess the question I would have is, everybody knows he had a great game, right? Top 6 scoring running back on the week. It was a great matchup, but why is he a riser necessarily? Like what about Jaylen Warren is better now than it was before? Yeah,
and the reason why Jaylen Warren's a riser is that we actually look back in week 3. Keep in mind, week 4 gets ruled out in that London game. Week 5 Steelers bye. Week 6, his first game back. Keep that in mind. Week 3, when he was quote unquote fully healthy, this is what we saw. We saw 78% of the snaps, 81% of the rushing attempts, and 60% of the routes, en route to 13.1 fantasy points. We have that debacle, oh my God, Sunday morning, did you wake up in time to get Jaylen Warren out of your lineup? That was a whole fiasco. That ends up probably rubbing people the wrong way. Week 5, the bye. Week 6, he comes back. Kind of a committee. Him and Kenny Gainwell splitting touches, only 52% of the snaps, 46% of the rushing attempts. But it was pretty clear on Thursday night when the Steelers needed to get yardage out of their backs, Jaylen Warren was the one on the field. 67% of the snaps, 84% of the backfield carries, and 49% of the routes. With Jaylen Warren, this is by far, I think, his most efficient game of the year. Ever since he's come out of the bye, he looks a lot fresher too. Maybe he's past that knee injury. And if he's going to be able to be the bell cow running back for the Steelers team, a Steelers team, which, by the way, given the construct of their offense, It's DK Metcalf and no other wide receiver separating vertically. We're going to see a lot of tight ends. We're going to see a lot of running backs. We're going to see a lot of Jaylen Warren catching some routes out of the backfield. And funny enough, that was the reason why you missed your pick him on Thursday.
It was, yeah. I had Jaylen Warren lower on his receiving yards. It was the only one that I missed. And yeah, I mean, Arthur Smith wouldn't have it any other way. A lot of running back carries and a lot of tight ends you've never heard of, or tight ends that are doing 6-7 celebrations. So Jaylen Warren has to be a riser here, just because of here. The other major factor for me on Jaylen Warren was after the bye, throughout the season, are we ever going to see Caleb Johnson? Ever? Is he going to factor into this backfield? And the answer right now looks to be no. So Jaylen Warren needs to be, like, you drafted Jaylen Warren thinking first 8 weeks of the season, he's going to be a usable RB2 for me. And then maybe Caleb Johnson takes over or something like that. I am willing to go out on a limb and say that Caleb Johnson might be one of the biggest busts in all of rookie drafts and potentially won't see the field really for the rest of the season. Even if Jaylen Warren went down, I think Kenneth Gainwell, as we saw in that the Ireland game, the workload went to Kenneth Gainwell. Like, Caleb Johnson barely saw any increased usage. Yeah,
the biggest highlight of his year is him making that special teams mishap.
Yeah, no, Jaylen Warren, again, there's really no more threat in his backfield. He is definitely going to be like a 65% snap share, 70% of the carries, half the long down and distance, most of the goal line stuff. That's what he's going to be, which is mid RB2 usage. So that's got to be like, you got to factor in Jaylen Warren versus Travis Etienne now. Like, that's a real decision that you have to make. And I think there's people out there that could definitely argue Warren over Etienne.
And let me ask you this, Corey. Where do you think he would have, quote unquote, risen if that touchdown he scored didn't get called back, and if on the 2-yard line instead of a play action to Darnell Washington, he got the goal line touch? We could be looking at 35, 36 fantasy points and people trying to shout Jaylen Warren as a top 12 to 14 running back.
Yeah. I think you could, again, I have him at 19, but like, and I have Breece and Etienne still one and two spots ahead of him, but I don't want to. I don't want to have those guys ahead of him right now.
Do yourself a service. You're not trusting Breece Hall with Tyrod Taylor to outscore Jaylen Warren, and you're not scoring Travis Etienne, given the lack of workload in these last few weeks, over Jaylen Warren. Like, we have to make that flip.
Okay. I'll keep Amari and Hampton over him based on team construction. Maybe you could trade for Hampton and he would be like a league winner for you down the stretch. But yeah, I think Warren is now my RB 17, and I have Breece Hall at 18, Travis Etienne at 19. So making a switch live on the clock here and pivoting into somebody that I am like, this is really bag defendy. Like, I get that, but Devonta Smith and AJ Brown have to be huge risers. Devonta Smith went from my wide receiver 25 to my wide receiver 19. AJ Brown, after 2 good games in a row, really goes from my wide receiver 30 to my wide receiver. Where did I move him up to? Because I moved him since I wrote this in the wide receiver 17. So Jalen Hurts, since week 4, the Philadelphia Eagles second in neutral pass rate at 68%. Did anybody this year expect me to say that sentence, that they're second in neutral pass rate? We expected them to be a 48% neutral pass rate team. They're at 68% right now.
And I will tell you right now, because Corey, we haven't actually discussed this, but we may as well discuss it now on live. Are we doing the panicking video this week?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Because who was the player 3 weeks ago you weren't panicking on at all, but I said, hey, I'm owning him in my home league and I'm panicking? It's Saquon Barkley. I'm terrified.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley needs to be a panic meter player discussed for sure. Jalen Hurts has passed for 225 plus passing yards in 4 of his last 5 games. He's got at least 1 passing touchdown in every game and at least 2 in, I think, 3 or 4 of his last couple games as well. 32 pass attempts in 3 out of those 5. The team realizes that Saquon Barkley is not 2024 Saquon Barkley. Their star receivers are now playing a lot better than they used to in the first couple weeks of 2025. With Devonta Smith, we've seen the big plays. We saw it connect this week. 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, he almost had another one. There was almost like a 70-yard touchdown he caught. Was that against the Giants on Thursday night? So we're looking at A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Coming into the year, we knew these guys were studs. We knew they were great receivers. They're multi-time wide receiver 2+ type of finishers. Devonta Smith been a top 15 receiver the last like 3 to 4 years. A.J. Brown, a wide receiver 1 the last 3 to 4 years. Now we're finally getting the volume with the Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers, and it's paying off because they're playing well. Jalen Hurts is playing better as a passer, and the offense is operating a lot more as a pass-heavy unit as opposed to the 2024 Eagles was just give it to 26 and let him do everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've noticed it as well. The offensive line play substantially worse. Man, the 1 year I have Saquon Barkley in my home league, having to watch him run for 3.2 yards per carry has been one of the most excruciating experiences ever. And keep this in mind. This is a team that has, London, Adams, Pickens. Like my wide receivers, I literally go 4 or 5 deep of top 24 options. And I'm still worried about my team because Saquon Barkley doesn't look like Saquon Barkley.
The curse of the 400 touch tweet.
Coming to fruition.
It's coming back, because I remember in the offseason people were like running backs with 400 touches the previous year, and then it was always like a major regression. And well, Saquon Barkley is having a major regression. The one thing that is not accounted for is that I believe Bijan had like 385 touches or something like that last year. So either way, if you drafted Saquon Barkley, I'd be a little bit worried, because it looks like this offense is going to start to run through the passing game.
Yeah, and I agree, and it honestly should. I mean, Saquon Barkley doesn't look like that same player this year. We just haven't seen the explosives. I think that's the part of it too. Like obviously, the offensive line play hasn't been the same. The yards before
fourth in pass blocking, 19th in run blocking too. They're just much better in pass protection right now.
Yeah, so it does seem like a team adjustment based off kind of how they've operated. I mean, when Devonta Smith and AJ Brown are starting to play well, and Saquon Barkley is struggling, you do have to make that adjustment. Where did you say you have them actually a wide receiver?
AJ Brown is my wide receiver 17, and Devonta Smith my wide receiver 19.
Okay, I have them Brown at 18 and Smith at 24. Initially, I had Brown closer to 15, but then when I looked at it, I'm like, I still have to prefer probably T-Mac, Sutton, and McConkey. But
I put them over. Both of them are over Tedero and McMillan for me, but I do have McConkey and Sutton kind of mixed in between them.
Yeah, fair enough. But we will head on to my next player, and I believe my final player of the video. We're doing 8.
Yep.
Doing 8 players.
9, because Smith and AJ are both on the same team.
Fair enough. 9 players skyrocketing up our rankings, and the 8th of them will be Oronde Gadsden of the LA Chargers. Tight end 24 coming into the week. I said, you know what? It's pretty interesting. He had a big week. We'll see what ends up happening going forward. He took that big, 8 target week he had 2 weeks ago into a tight end 2 overall week, 29.4 PPR points. And I mean, the usage is phenomenal. 77% of the routes in back-to-back weeks, 18% target share in back-to-back weeks. He is up to tight end 13 for me rest of the season. If somebody said that he's a tight end 1 in their rankings, I wouldn't bat an eye. You want to argue him even over Harold Fannin? I wouldn't bat an eye. They were similar type of prospects coming in. Obviously, Fannin got the 3rd round capital versus 5th round for Gadsden, but you could very much argue the insulation of the Chargers offense could point to Gadsden over Fannin. But the Oronde Gadsden, man, on a team that has Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and Keenan Allen, he's leading them in receiving yards.
Dude, Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen combined for 29 targets in this game, and Gadsden led them in receiving yards. Ladd had 14 and Keenan had 15 targets, and Gadsden led the team in receiving yards.
Yeah, and we might just be seeing a special tight end here. What did we both say his ceiling range of outcome was?
It's in our draft guide if you guys want the receipts, but both of us took the okay, we'll give him the comp of the median projection and the floor projection. I gave him Hakeem Butler, you gave him Juwan Johnson, but I wrote in the write-up and both of us said the ceiling is Darren Waller. The ceiling for this player is Darren Waller. He's a converted wide receiver. He has ball skills. He has catch point skills that tight ends don't normally have, because wide receivers obviously get a lot more work. And anybody who watched Syracuse football his sophomore season when he was playing wide receiver knows that this guy was a receiving weapon.
And I'll take my lumps. I'll take my L's with some of my Caleb Johnson rookie draft takes. But I will say some of my sleepers that I pointed out. I mean, Gadsden was on that video as well. He's looking very strong. I mean, I remember the quote from Harbaugh saying that they have a plan for him right when they drafted him. And typically, are you ever going to hear that about a day 3 tight end?
He's in 40. I have him on 40% of my dynasty rosters as a result. So I feel very good. And I wrote in his write-up too. This was the exact quote. I don't want to draft Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Arroyo in the 2-3 turn area of rookie drafts, because I can get Oronde Gadsden undrafted or in the 4th round in every single league.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the guide, I literally had him above Elijah Arroyo. And even after the fact that Arroyo went in the 2nd round, Gadsden was a 5th rounder, I'm like, well, the better player went later.
Yeah, literally. Okay, so we just jerked ourselves off for a couple of minutes there. Rhamondre Stevenson, let's bring it back down, more humble pie, because Trevion Henderson, you more so than me, but I was obviously not expecting Rhamondre Stevenson to be great. Rhamondre Stevenson is up from RB 36 to RB 27 in my rest of season rankings, and 4 of the Patriots' next 6 opponents have 2 wins or less on the year. We all know that the Patriots have a cake schedule. It's been very talked about all among NFL circles. I mean, first of all, their quarterback's playing like a legitimate MVP candidate. Rhamondre Stevenson has been a huge beneficiary of the Antonio Gibson injury as well. Since Antonio Gibson went out for the year, Rhamondre Stevenson has been over 70% of the snaps in both games. He's commanded virtually every touch, especially the inside the 5 carries. He has gotten every single one the last 3 games. Long down and distance snaps have actually gone more his way since the Gibson injury. And this is in addition to him already being the early down ball carrier. So again, what did I just say about Jaylen Warren? If you're going to get 60, 70% of the carries, you're going to get all of the goal line work, and you're going to get at least half of the long down and distance stuff, which right now on the last 3 weeks, he's gotten 100 or a 94% of it. We're looking at a guy who should be valued as a mid RB2, low end RB2. I'm not going to put him quite that high because I still think there is some threat that TreVeyon Henderson can factor in at some point. But usage wise, over the next couple of games, yeah, he's a mid to low end RB2 right now.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. I mean, I'll take my L here. I've patted myself on the back at times in this video, but like you said, TreVeyon Henderson, man, he is just not part of the equation. And I don't know why the case is. I mean, we're seeing Jennings being worked in just as much as him right now, like Terrell Jennings. Or what are we talking about here?
I don't know what the hell's going on with Henderson, but it's clear to me that Henderson is deficient in some areas, whatever it is. I don't know what the coaching staff, like, it's not just bad coach. You can't just say it's a bad coaching decision because it's not like Henderson averages 7 yards a carry every time he touches the football either. He looks like he's kind of behind mentally a little bit.
Yeah, the best way to put it, it is a frustrating coaching decision. How a player can fumble twice and you won't bat an eye, but maybe TreVeyon Henderson misses one pass pro and you're going to fucking bench him. Like,
yeah, or he's just missing reads or whatever. Like, whatever the case is, Rhamondre Stevenson's the veteran. He's on the big contract. It makes sense in hindsight when you think about it. Hey, Rhamondre Stevenson, former RB1 in fantasy, he was going to be a pest for TreVeyon Henderson all season, which is what I was why I was hesitant on taking TreVeyon up in like the 3rd round or the 4th round where he was going in fantasy drafts by the end of the offseason. I was kind of the opinion I will let my league mates draft him and maybe buy low on him at some point during the year. And we haven't even really had a buy low window on the guy.
Corey, 14% of the snaps against Tennessee.
Brutal.
14%.
Brutal, dude.
Like, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, people are asking.
That's all he is right now. He's a handcuff.
Yeah, I moved. Another panic meter player. He's my RB40 rest of the season, and I don't view him any differently than like a Byshell Tootin or an RJ Harvey. Realistically, these are handcuffs. You're hoping that potentially, if the starter were to go down, you can get RB2 level utility, but it is ultimately a projection for all 3 of these guys. So why should I show favoritism to TreVeyon Henderson just because I preferred him as a prospect when the opportunity just isn't brimming for him?
Yeah, I would rather take the swing on, like, if you're a winning record team, like, go trade for Trey Benson. I would trade him for Trey Benson right now. The upside that Trey Benson is the starter when he comes back. Like, again, maybe we'll look stupid here. This is the first time we've like kind of admitted defeat on TreVeyon Henderson all year. But like, what's going to change other than Stevenson getting hurt? That would be the only thing that could really change this, because Gibson already got hurt. This was a 3-man backfield at one point. You'd think, oh, Gibson goes down. He's the 3rd down guy. Henderson's going to be more involved. No, it's been Stevenson getting more work. Yeah,
maybe if the thesis relied upon 67% of the backfield to go down for him to be relevant, maybe it wasn't the strong thesis from me to begin with. But at the same time, Henderson's just not playing well. He's not playing up to the expectation. He's clearly not being trusted out there. And until something changes, until we suddenly see a 56% snap share type of week, 14% of the snaps.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. But anyways, couple of humble pies, couple of victory laps in this video. We gave you some nice balance. Everybody in the comment, there's a couple people in the comments saying that all we do is bag defend and all we do is
Arthur.
What was the word that was used? You're just in take lock all the time or whatever. Like, we're admitting when we're wrong here. Rashee Rice, you think I want to admit that he's wide receiver 8 rest of the season? Hell no. You think I want to admit that Rhamondre Stevenson's probably a low end RB2 for the rest of the season? Hell no. So we take our humble pie when we need to, and we appreciate you guys for sticking around. Hopefully you have gotten more right than wrong this season, because that's all you can really ask for in fantasy football. You're never going to bat 1,000. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Comment down below any of your thoughts. Rest of season rankings up to date. Going to do a big update of the dynasty trade value chart and the dynasty rankings this week as well. They haven't been updated for about 2 or 3 weeks or so. So we definitely have a couple of new things that we got to factor in. And appreciate you guys for tuning in, and check out the site for all of that stuff. That'll be linked down below in the description and in the pinned comment. Promo code FSE over on flockfantasy.com. That'll get you access to the trade value chart, dynasty rankings, rest of season rankings, weekly, week 8 rankings to set your lineups. all that good stuff. Definitely check that out if you guys are interested. But with that being said, peace out. We'll talk to you soon.